Hello and welcome to my B.V.P post. Today I'm going to be talking about panopticism. Yeah, panopticism. It's a real word. I'm going to be using the limited series When They See Us, directed by Ava DuVernay, to reference what panopticism is and what panopticism does to society and culture. So first, let's ask ourselves, what exactly is this media text asking us to think about? It wants us to take a good look at the injustice system. And yes, I said it, the injustice system. Through a real trial known as the Central Park 5, it's asking us to take a look at the ugly side of the injustice system and see how power is wielded and used. Now keep in mind, everybody has power, everybody, everyone. The only difference is how much power they have and how they choose to use that power. However, some of those who have been provided the power to protect and serve their communities have unfortunately warped it into something else. It's begun to turn cruel and ugly and wicked, and it starts to create submissive and docile bodies, especially of those who are classified underneath marginalized groups. But that's another B.V.P post for another day. Before we dive in deeper, let's talk about the Central Park 5 case. There were 5 young boys who were involved. Kevin Richardson, age 14, Raymond Santona, age 14, Antron McCray, age 15, Yusef Salon, age 15, and Corey Wise, age 16. All of them were wrongfully convicted of raping a jogger who is named Trisha Melly. But it wasn't until the true rapist came out about it for the 5 men to be exonerated, and that person's name is Matias Reyes. Now let's break down exactly what panopticism is. It's a function of discipline that creates submissive and docile bodies. It was actually created for a prison system based on Jeremy Bentham. How the structure works, there's basically a tower in the middle of surrounding cells. All of the surrounding cells are brightly lit, so you can see any and everything that goes on within the cells. However, the tower is dark, so anyone who are positioned or in the cells cannot see who or what and when people are in that tower. Therefore, it begins to create a sense of self-surveillance amongst the prisoners, because since they don't know who or when people are watching, they act accordingly so they don't get in trouble. Through this media text, we see exactly how these powers are used. There's not an actual structure set up that Jeremy had created, but we still see similar outcomes and effects on these young boys. With that being said, we see the use of physical violence, threats, lies, coercion, and fear. We see people, or the boys, are being starved, they're getting beaten on, and just basically treated like animals, all to create submissive and docile bodies. With that, based on Daisy's theories, this text actually is very, very disruptive to mass culture. Very. It actually falls under what would be called popular culture, because it is for the people and it is literally by the people, literally. It calls out those of the hegemonic culture who suppress those who fall underneath the marginalized groups. And in this situation specifically, they like to use RSAs. And no, not your RAs, RSAs. What are RSAs, you may ask? Well, RSA stands for repressive state apparatuses, which actually use things like government, police, and courts, etc. to spread their ideology. Althusser actually proposed this, and he also said that RSAs are not at all afraid to use violence or coercive tactics to exert control. For example, let's think back to the Trayvon Martin and George Zimmerman case, right? George Zimmerman was able to actually get away with the murder. He was able to get away with it because of the stand your ground law in Florida. So that would fall underneath a government/court. Do you see where I'm going with this? This limited series tries to challenge the ideas of mass culture and how the police is always serving and protecting everyone in the community, when in fact, not all police is actually always doing so. The only problem with this text is that it makes people uncomfortable. It depicts the ugly truth that the hegemonic culture doesn't want to acknowledge, and shows the truth that many marginalized groups and people have actually dealt with in their own mind. It tears down those walls that everybody's so comfortable living inside of. But for those who are completely in denial about what's happening, are the same people who are getting space for being created to hear and see and acknowledge about the issues that are happening. Again, this text is asking us to take a deep look and to open up to see the abuse of power that is being placed upon those of marginalized groups. By providing and releasing this information, people are now aware. And the fact that 30 years after this case, marginalized groups are still being suppressed by tools and powers of RSA. Though there has been progress made, we can never forget. We must always be aware, and we must continue fighting on for what is right. So that way one day, those who fall underneath the marginalized groups will not have to fear the badge. They won't have to be starved into saying what the badge wants to hear. They will never be beaten or coerced into saying what the badge wants to be said, and they will no longer be suppressed by the powers of the badge or the powers of the injustice system.